Welcome back, guys, to another part of Palia. In this part, we are going to do the mask quest. I believe the mask I found while I was gardening, when I was plowing. And so we just have to talk to Gina about it. And get going.
Just the person I was hoping to see.
The Order sent me a letter. They're sending a watcher to investigate the human reemergence. Is this my fault? Did I discover something I shouldn't have? What was it? What'll happen to my research? I'll just say, oh no, that means they'll investigate me too. Oh, no, you're right. You're human, and that's just what they'll be investigating. I'm sure you have nothing to worry about, though. You've been nothing but helpful since the day you materialized. I found this in my garden. Oh, it looks like a mask from the human era. It looks like it's supposed to resemble a bird. Perhaps the phoenix? It must be some sort of religious site. Perhaps you could look around the valley for more evidence of masks used in human religious ceremonies.
Okay. Oh, well, these books aren't going to read themselves.
Bring Gina another mask. Oh, goodness. Okay, so let's just go do some looking around. Find more like garlic and stuff anyway. Assuming they'll just be like not really laying around, but or you can just pick them up. Nothing there. Oh, here's something. A lizard mask. And now we can return back. This is the ruins. Where are we exactly? By the reflection fields. Right off the path, right in there. Already found that one. Hopefully she's still in the library. Why can't I jump that? I don't like that it doesn't give me the meters anymore since the update.
Just the person I was hoping to see.
I'm sorry if I'm staring at you, it's just part of my research process. I found another mask. This looks like some type of reptile. Maybe the dragon? So far, the theory that masks were used in religious ceremonies seems to be holding.
I
Okay.
feel so inspired now.
To find another mask. Okay, well, since we found that one in those rooms. Okay, so since those were in those kind of ruins area, where else should we look? Maybe over here. Or up here, maybe. Okay, let me check that one and then come up this way. It's kind of on the way. I wonder how many masks there were. See anything around here? Doesn't look like it. Let's go up this way. Still not seeing anything. Some mushrooms down there. On this side. Nope. Maybe down here. Oh, I see it. Oh, there's a treasure chest up there too. I'll have to get that. I'll have to go back up there. Ancient mask. An insect mask. Let's go back up so I can get this chest. Come on. Can make it. Just barely. I'll just try to see if I can make it from there. Collect these mushrooms while we're at it. Right here's a good spot. Onion and potato seeds. Okay. Now I have 2 Ginas again. Return to Earth. Wonder how many masks there is going to be. We found 3 so far. She's probably gonna be back by her tent now. Okay, where are we? Oh, you passed. more.
Hope you've settled in without much trouble.
Yes. Here's another mask.
Huh.
An insect. Well, I haven't heard of any sort of insect god or other sacred figure.
Huh?
But who knows what deities existed in the time of the ancient humans. Let's keep looking. This could be a big discovery. Bigger than either of us could have imagined.
Sorry, didn't mean to take up your time.
Okay. So I have to find another mask. There's some stuff over here, maybe. Stuff down here. Probably closer to those ones. Let's go look over there. It's just right there. I need to collect some more of these as well. While we're at it. Not gonna collect it, awesome. There too. Over here. Swear there was something glowing right there. No, there's not. That's just space sprouts. Just didn't let me collect, so over here. See anything? Oh, it actually worked that time. Oh, there's something up here. Just saw that out of the corner of my eye. There we go, there's another one. Dude. Okay, yeah, she's over there by your tent. Going to her tent.
Just the person I was hoping to see.
This one looks like a kitsu. This is interesting. The kitsu were thought to have a sacred relationship with the dragon.
Huh?
Perhaps the humans had a similar legend about the phoenix.
Don't be a stranger.
Oh my goodness, another mask? Don't know. Let's see. Oh, that's a real nice one. Can I commune with you again? What about, okay, well, we're gonna do this again. I want at least 50. How much renown do I have? Actually. 300. So I could at least up it. Oh my, really? Only 52. Okay. Not in there. But that is helpful. I can just inspect it. going over there. Oh, look. Found it. Simple enough. Wish I could just like jump out through the waterfall. Can't jump out that way. I've had this bug for a while where it gives you like 2 of them for their location. It's kind of annoying.
Every new day is another chance for a great discovery.
When left to their own devices, humans will befriend local. Sorry, I have a bad habit of talking to myself. Were fish scared too? No, not that I know of, or sacred. Either humans had gods we don't know about, or perhaps there were some humans who denied the phoenix and worshipped animal spirits. We've got to keep going with our research.
Oh, well, these books aren't gonna read
Find out
themselves.
the meaning of the mask. Well, let's go to the library then. Or the ancient library, I guess. This one was this one say. Once upon a time, when only Grand Ignis or Line, I don't know, hung in the sky, there lived deep in a quiet surface a small kitsune. Like all kitsunes, she loved shiny things, and so one midsummer evening, as she tracked a shimmer fly in the air with her eyes, her gaze lifted up to the skies, where she caught sight of the moon. There are 14 pages to this. Oh my, how bright, how beautiful, she exclaimed to no one in particular. Her eyes sparkled in the moonlight as she contemplated how to collect a piece of Ignis for herself. She scampered through the forest until she found the tallest tree, scrabbling past startled Munjin as she climbed and climbed and climbed. As she reached the top, she saw that the forest she had thought her spacious home was just a small patch of trees in a much larger landscape. As she looked up hopefully at the moon with her ears perked up, she realized it seemed just as far as it had when she had been on the ground. The tips of her ears dropped, just a little, but as she dropped her gaze from the sky, she saw a cliff off in the distance, taller than the tree on which she perched. And so off she went, scampering down the tree and over toward the cliff. In the distance, as she got closer and closer, she realized how big a task she had ahead of her. The cliff rose higher and higher until at last she was at its base, looking up at an incline that seemed to reach all the way to the very same moon she wanted to catch. The Kitsu puffed up her chest and started on her climb. Onward and onward she ran, upward and upward she climbed, and yet further and further the moon seemed to be. As she got close to the edge of the cliff, the Kitsu flopped down in exhaustion and bewilderment, for she was no closer to the moon than she was a cliff's height ago. Drained of all her energy, the Kitsu slept for a while, and when she woke from her well-earned slumber, it was light out. And the moon, while still beautiful, was not the only light illuminating the landscape, and there was so much to see. The little Kitsu had not realized how vast the world was, and how much there was in it. As she scurried along the cliffside, the mossy side she had climbed gave way to a darker, sharper edge. She slowed to a careful crawl, and peering over the edge, she saw that the cliffs here ended by plunging into a soft bed of sand, punctuated by the occasional rock formations. Every so often, one of the formations burst forth with a geyser, shooting into the sky, and as she watched one erupt, she realized that she was looking up at the top of it. Gasping in delight, she took a deep breath, puffing out her chest once more, and waited for the geyser to drop below her. Before she could change her mind, she gathered up all of her tiny courage and flung herself over the edge as the geyser erupted once again. As this Kitsu was launched into the air, she had a moment of vertigo as she flipped and flipped, head over tail, tail over head, with a splash of sideways. Almost overwhelmed by the dizziness, she channeled her inner silver wing and spread her limbs taut so her thick fur could stretch out and catch the air, letting her gently hover above the peak of the geyser. Up and down and up again she bobbed as she looked around in a bubbling excitement that quickly fizzled as the novelty wore off. She was high, higher than she'd ever been before, but the moon looked no closer than it had on the cliff or in the tree. She was closer to an expansive body of water she had never even seen before than the moon she had been admiring this whole time. The ocean glistened all over as it undulated in the wind, so vast she could see it in its entirety, and while she had to admit that it was beautiful, her heart was still set on the moon, and it still seemed impossibly far. In fact, it was hard to keep her beloved moon in sight. As she bobbed up and down, she couldn't stay up here forever. As relaxing as it was, she was still stretched taut. As she contemplated her next move, she saw a mountain whose peaks disappeared into the clouds. Surely that was where she would be able to meet the moon. So she pondered and plotted, and the next time the geyser shot her into the air, she aimed herself at the mountain, stretching her paws as far as they would go, and then stretched just a bit further than that, and glided as best she could towards the nearest geyser. And so she made her way, geyser to geyser, shooting up, sailing through the air, bit by bit, towards the mountain off in the distance. Eventually she found herself landing amongst the trees growing from the base of the mountain. Puffing up her chest one last time, the fur on her chest rippling with energy, she began to climb once more. She scampered across the ground, she scurried up trees, she climbed small cliffs, she glided through the air until one day, as the sun was setting, she broke through the last of the trees and found nothing else above her. As the last of the wash of pinks and oranges faded from the sky and the moon brightened above her, she knew she had made it. She had reached the top. Her ears twitched as she looked up triumphantly to greet the moon, and yet it was just as far as it was before. The mountain, the geyser, the cliff, the tree. It looked the same as when she had first laid eyes on it. She looked around desperately for something, somewhere even higher than where she was now, but there was nothing to be found. There was nowhere higher she could explore. The Kitsu deflated in defeat. Crestfallen, she returned home to her forest, her head hanging low, ears drooping heavily, tail dragging in the moss. Night after day after night, she aimlessly wandered around and around and around until one night, when she stumbled into a small clearing, startled, she looked up and saw the moon. As distant as ever, in despair, she collapsed into a puddle of fur on the ground and began to cry. She begged for someone, for anyone, to help her reach the moon. I have climbed the tallest tree, she explained. I have scaled the tallest cliff, she shouted. I have ridden the tallest geyser, she wailed. I have conquered the tallest mountain, she howled. I just want to be friends, she whimpered, exhausted. She rested her weary head on her paws and let her tears form tiny rivers down her face, across her toes and into the ground, where they began to form a pool. Her pleas echoed far and wide, eventually reaching 3 agents. The Phoenix, preoccupied with saving her noisy wayward people, did not hear her appeals. The Cimera, his far and quiet solitude broken, turned to face away from the chittering noise and watched instead the technological marvels his inventive and clever people had begun to develop. But the dragon, still in its youth and without its own people, could remember what it was like to yearn, as its own nebulous yearning had brought it into being not so many years ago. But that is another story for another day. And so the dragon took pity on the poor Kitsu, gathering the dust of the stars and shaping a small, humble moon in its claws, carefully balancing it in the sky above the pool that had formed from her tears. And as the pool grew large enough that the Kitsu's paws were dipped in it, her tears began to twinkle as they fell directly into the water. Startled by the sound, the Kitsu looked up, and lo and behold, she saw the reflection of Luna shining back at her. "Why, hello," she exclaimed happily, circling the edge of her pool around and around while the moon stayed centered and full, beaming back at her in delight. The dragon spoke then, its voice a deep rumble that she could feel throughout all of her fur and whiskers. "Your new companion," it explained, "will wander, just as you have wandered, but will always return, just as you have returned. You are no longer alone," and as it watched the Kitsu settle down into a happy, peaceful slumber, lit by the 2 moons, it began to contemplate its own loneliness. But alas, that is yet another story, for yet another day. Okay. Is there something over there we can read? I haven't actually explored the ancient library yet, so we're just kind of looking around. I can't jump over that. Oh, looks like there's a book here too. Ancient Paybill. The Oppo Valley Players presents Satrico's classic opera, The Kitsu's first song, starring Lyra Anos as Kitsu, Jack Marmot as the Red Raven, as the Rock Lizard, Prism Trout, the Ant, and introducing as Leonotes the Fool. I have no idea how to announce all those names, so I'm not even going to try. Here we can read. Reina and the Silver Shoes. Once upon a time, there was a bright little girl named Reina. Reina loved to dance and dreamed of one day dancing among the stars. But sadly, little stars were too far away and Reina was too little. I think this is the same one that we read up in the treehouse. Yes, it is. So I'm not going to read it again. Look, Gina's right there. Well, there's a couple books here, though. Okay, if you're reading this note, it means either I'm out getting supplies or I didn't make it. You're probably also wondering why all the red tape just to get into the old university library. Well, my friends, I needed a place we could be safe from those things outside. We didn't know a lot about the shadow creatures, but figured they'd be pretty bad at solving riddles. So we decided to use everything we learned from our rune crafting classes to try locking the door so that humans could find us. But those things couldn't. Hopefully it wasn't overkill, but the fact that you're here means at least some people were able to get in with the keys we left around campus. Hope to see you soon. If not, I hope this place is safer for you than it was for us. Is that the same one? Interesting. There's nothing over there. Obviously more books and stuff over there. Can I read from here? Where's the old dog?
Here to distract me from
Look
that
at you,
great
not
plan
letting
I'm
all
about
those
to have.
centuries of being wherever you work keep you from enjoying your new life. I've got something to tell you about the mask. Oh, so your house must have been built on a theater, not a ritual site? I guess I got a little carried away, ascribing deep significance to everything I found. My father always said it can be easy to misinterpret a portrait. When you're so close to the canvas, you can't see anything but the brushstrokes. I guess sometimes a mask is just a mask and not the key to unlocking new understanding about humanity.
I'll think on what you said.
And with that, we are going to end this part here. Until next time.